welcome. The next 15 weeks, we're going to be doing the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. It's a book written by John C Maxwell. And luckily, I've got a John Maxwell Certified Coach that's going to be sharing these next 15 weeks with me. This is Danny L. Smith. I call him Danny because he's a friend. So, Danny, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I'll run through some things how this is all going to work on the podcast the next 15 weeks.
Thanks, Herdy. I'm Danny Smith, been in the mortgage business for 39 years, also own a training company. Our primary focus is on realtors because we're in the mortgage business, working with realtors and such. We put about 1,400 butts in live seats last year in our training programs, but about 20% of those were non-realtors, just people out in the general business world wanting to grow themselves out in front of their business, which is one of our pillars of what we call pillars of success. Herdy, I'm excited to be here. This is let me tell you, of all the growth books, all the books, I circle through this one. As you know, I circle through this about once a year.
Well, and that's why I'm glad I get to tap into you for the next 15 weeks. And I want to catch the audience up a little bit because we just started this. It is live on YouTube and on my support group center, my business support center. And Danny can share links out to his group, and he's also put the YouTube link out. So if you happen to be watching us today for the first time, thank you. It'll also be on demand after it's over. But what I wanted to encourage everybody was, if you haven't never read this book, go purchase the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. Buy the paperback because you can take notes in it. But if you have to, take the Kindle. We're going to be on about 15 to 30 minutes every Monday at 3 o'clock, like clockwork. It'll be scheduled. So all you have to do is tune in to YouTube or on Facebook, my group page, the Facebook Support Center for Business. But just go to YouTube. It's the easiest place to find it. I've posted the link out just about to everybody today. So that's a good place to get it. So we're going to jump into the 15 laws. And the first one we're going to look at is the Law of Intentionality. And Danny, I'm going to read a couple things off right from the book about what it is not. I'm going to go through the growth gaps, and then to finish up this today, I'm going to let you kind of dig into where the real struggle is on these growth gaps. Put your experience to work and also your certification with John Maxwell. Okay. So the first one is activity in and of itself does not improve growth. Hope is not a strategy. And I think all of us work hard to improve our circumstances, but not improve ourselves. What is the key to personal growth? Well, hopefully in the next 15 weeks, as we go through this and we move forward together with the next 15 laws, you'll be able to form a picture of what growth is really like in our personal lives. So the first law, the law of intentionality, and there's a little saying that goes with this. Growth doesn't just happen. So let's point out, Danny, when I first read this book, just about all these growth gaps, I went, up. They relate. And some stronger than others. So let's go through the growth gaps real quick. And then we're going to let Danny kind of jump in with what he thinks of some of these and kind of talk to us about them. The first one is the assumption gap. And that is that I assume that I will automatically grow. The second one is the knowledge gap. And it really is, I don't know what to do to grow. The timing gap, it's not the right time to start. You ever heard that before, Danny?
I have, yeah.
And the next one is the mistake gap. I'm afraid of making mistakes. And I will tell you, that's a big deal for a lot of people, just to throw in 2 cents before I let Danny jump on is that we don't do something because we're not very congruent at it, so we're scared of it. The next one's the perfection gap. I have to find the best way before I start. The 6 is the inspiration gap. I don't really like doing it, which is funny, right? I hate what I do, so I'm not going to grow. The comparison gap. Others are better than I am. And the expectation gap is I thought this would be easy. Everybody thinks personal growth is easy, including yours truly, who thought activity was growth before I read this book, by the way. So there's a couple questions, Danny, here for you. I want to put your John Maxwell certification to experience and your notes and the things you can help us with here. How do we work through this intentionality, these growth gaps?
I'm going to go through these gaps. I'm going to put a little cynical spin on it for a
second.
Okay,
good. Thank you.
You haven't heard me, but I actually wrote some notes just now as you were saying this. Something was popping in my head. And the assumption gap. John says, you repeated, I assumed I will automatically grow. And I've heard people say this, what's up with growth? Why do I need to grow? I mean, they literally have no concept. Many people have no concept that they need to grow. The knowledge gap. What do I need to learn? Pretty standard that people haven't read a book since high school or college, and got a couple of stories to tell around that.
And so Danny, let me interrupt you right there. What's that one thing you always tell people? If we hang with the same people, want to finish that statement for me?
Yeah, there's there's different versions of it, but if you want to fly with the eagles, you got to quit you're hanging out with the mud ducks or something, you know.
Well, if you don't read books and you don't hang out with if you're hanging out with the same crowd, you're never reading, you're never doing anything, then you're not going to grow.
Yeah, it's the old adage. I first heard a guy named Charlie Tremendous Jones say it in about 1978. And then Zig Ziglar and a few others repeated it. You're going to be the same today as you are 5 years from today, except for who you hang out with, what you read, what you watch, and what you listen to. And I've got numerous stories. Somebody just about 3 weeks ago said something to me about I told them they need to quit listening to certain podcasts. I said, dude, that's got to be wearing you out. And that was about 6 months ago, and he told me that he had quit listening to it and how much his attitude and some other things have changed. The mistake gap. I'm afraid of making mistakes. It's a whole thing around procrastination. People they look for reasons to procrastinate. They keep doing the same thing over and over again every day and not getting things done. On a side note, I've been studying the past few months about dopamine and how to regulate the dopamine in your body, not through supplements or anything, but and it's greatly improved my procrastination. But I learned that because of stuff I listen to and stuff that I read. The timing gap is not the right time to begin. I would say begin what is what most people are thinking. And I'm taking a little bit of a cynical approach, but it's to wake people up that's listening to this that might be dealing with it. Except for the fact, Herdy, anybody that's listening to this, they probably have a growth mindset and they're trying to move forward. But we all have people in our sphere of influence that are stuck in the same place for the last 10, 20 years. The perfection gap, I have to find the best way before I start. People go, why do I need to improve?
Yeah. So let me stop you right there because we got a couple questions. I don't want to make sure we're letting people know we are paying attention to what they're saying on Facebook, right? I don't have the chat moderated on YouTube yet today because I haven't figured out how to do 30 things at once. And if you do, Danny, let me know. But with that said, you had me at first. Growth was one of the comments. The other comment was I thought action was growing.
What if you're growing? What if you're acting on the wrong things?
Bad habits?
Yeah, well, where you're acting on bad habits. you and I in our Tuesday afternoon mastermind, we went through the atomic growth last year. In the last year, we've gone through compound effect and a couple of others I mean, if you're doing the wrong thing, we've heard if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to keep getting the same results. So yeah, action. There's actually a saying out of as a man thinketh about that, but the bottom line, I mean, action does not mean you're growing. You might be growing, but you're growing the wrong direction. You're growing in the wrong thing.
Right. So you could be doing a lot of activity at something, which I kind of mentioned at the very beginning of this, but that activity doesn't necessarily equate to personal growth within our lives. There's a lot of people that have great activity and things they do, but they don't have any sustainability to who they are, right? They don't even know who they are.
Well, give you an idea. I just completed a little over 10-week challenge called 75 Hard, and I dropped 12 pounds, but I didn't drop any body fat. I went in Saturday morning to check my body fat, and my body fat it stayed exactly the same. and I looked at this girl at the place, and I said, "What's the deal?" She asked me a few questions. She says, "I can tell you the only thing from based on what you just told me, your problem is," and understand that was the main reason I did this 75-day program, is to drop body fat, and I didn't drop weight, but I didn't drop body fat. And she said, your nutrition is wrong. Well, my health coach, she'd been upset with me for a few weeks because she said I'm not getting enough protein.
Right.
And so I was okay with not building muscle, which that's what I thought that was. And but it turned out my body wasn't burning fat. So that's a prime example of doing the activity, but not growing.
Right. So
not achieving the goal.
So if we go back to the intentionality thing, there's some questions there John presents to us, Danny, which you might want to talk about a little bit. And that is, what is it you want from life, right? What desires do you have for life? And what are some things he kind of mentions is after the growth gaps there, like the fear of failure, perfection. I have somebody else that also made a statement on here on Facebook that says, I don't want to make mistakes. Right?
Oh, whoa. Then you're never going to do anything.
I didn't say that. I'm not going to be the bad guy.
Anything worth doing is worth doing poorly as you learn to do it well.
And the way I used to phrase that was fake it till you make it, baby.
Yeah.
So
and that works in most. There's some things obviously
I know, but okay. I'm just trying to make a point.
I walk mostly, but in my mind I'm a runner. Okay. And I want to be a runner, but I want to be a runner again. So I call myself a runner, and that's kind of that fake it till you make it type thing. Getting back to that point.
I would also encourage people, Danny, that feel like mistakes and failures stop them in their tracks, is to realize that everybody that's ever run a business, that's ever tried to accomplish something, went through a lot of failures, went through a lot of mistakes, went through a lot of learning curves in order to keep getting better at what they do. Right. So comment on that a little bit.
Yeah. I wrote a Substack post recently. You commented on it about growth and about goals. Or actually, it was about goals and about our conscious, subconscious. Most of us get tired of setting goals because what we fail to realize that failure in the process of obtaining the goals is part of the process. And when we fail at part of the process, we tend to stop instead of pause, evaluate, correct, and move forward again. The goals are in concrete, plans are in sand. Okay? We can't put the goal, the goal isn't, there are tactics to obtain the goal. There's a timetable to obtaining the goal, but both of those are going to fail. we have to have a process to obtain the goal. And we can't get hung up on our performance. We've got to focus on our potential. That's one of 4 cores of success, 4 pillars of success. Focus on your potential, not your performance, because performance is always going to fail us. We're always going to not want to get up and put our shoes on and go out for a run, or grab our gym bag and get in the car and go to the gym. But the process is the next thing. I have a check-in call every morning, Monday through Friday at 9:30. People can call in on. All I want to do in that, people, what is your intention between now and the next time you call in? That's the process. I did that 4x4x48 a few weeks ago. I had to, in my head, that when my alarm went off at 3:45 in the morning, that I would put my feet on the floor, hit the snooze, lay down the floor to straighten out my back. When it went off again, stand up and go drink a water. I wasn't thinking about, I just need just focus on that next little thing. Be very intentional, as John talks about in here, being intentional on the next thing. Not get hung up on the long-term deal. It's the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into a final question for today, and that is, how do we get from, say, accidental type of growth to intentional growth? Is it lead back a little bit to what you just said, or is there some very basic things we can do?
Accidental growth is going to be just let life taking over. You let life taking over. I hadn't thought about this. That's a great question, Herdy. But I mean, every day, this isn't in this book, but every day we have thoughts. 99% of our activity and our thoughts come from our subconscious mind. 92 or so percent, according to Dr. Ruskin at, I think he's at Stanford or USC, 92% of what we think is habitual, repetitive. We thought it yesterday and last week and last month. That's so accidentally, but with all the stuff, data that's coming at us every day from the social media and on the screen. I mean, it's great here on the screen. You don't have advertisements going on. You watch any program on TV, you got 15 messages going on. You go into the gym, you got messages going on. We take in more information, and I'm going to be real liberal or very conservative with this. Okay. We take in more information in 3 months than a person in 1900 did in a lifetime. Some studies say 1 week.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
And that's the accidental growth you just said. That's accidental growth. It's just going to happen. And we could get into all kinds of things that what media and other, they're trying to form the path we're on. We can call it accidental growth instead of intention. Intentional growth is having a plan, having a coach, having somebody, just somebody calling, dial into this, listen to it afterwards for the 20 minutes, 25 minutes. We're on once a week, 15 or for 15 weeks. People will get more out of this towards their intentional growth than they will any other intention. The average person then is not getting intentional growth, is what I'm trying to say. They're just quote unquote accidentally growing.
Perfect.
They're letting life. They're letting life grow them.
Yeah,
the world
perfect.
Grow.
Love the answer. And like I said, to recap a little bit, if everybody that listens to this either live or sees it later, will spend time in the next 15 weeks. This will put a real good picture together of all these different laws. We'll have Danny sitting here as a John Maxwell Certified Coach that can dig into a little bit more in depth into what we're talking about. I also encourage you to go buy the book so that you can read the in-between stuff we haven't talked about today and really dive into one of these laws that we're going to go through and try to perfect a couple of them. And by that, I mean, not live them perfect, but find the ones that really you're attracted to and kind of dive into them. Well, Danny, What did you think? We had a good first week. Thanks,
Herdy.
Thanks, everybody. Please, we'll get the copy out for the recording out for those folks that missed a live, and appreciate you folks chiming in on Facebook and giving us a few things to look at. And I'll get the chat introduced next week, and we'll slowly start building this to interact, and we'll get some more links out. So, Danny, have a great day. Thank you, sir.
Thanks. See you.
All right. Bye.